Camden is a city of waters, beautiful waters, natural waters, great assets. However, because of pollution, and particularly in the last 100 years sewage pollution, people have not been able to get on these waters. But thanks to Andy Kricun, in the last 30 years, I can run my hand through these waters, I can paddle in these waters, I can play on these waters, I can get in these waters safely. Andy's been a hero of mine and of many of us that have worked on the Delaware. He's a hero because of what he accomplished, but also how he accomplished. One of the things that's wonderful about Andy is that he's so humble. You know, he gives credit to everybody else, but in fact it was his genius and his interest in partnerships and his interest in doing the right thing, the moral obligation, and his ability to think about the engineering behind it, but the money behind it and the people behind it. He is one of the most effective people I've ever worked with, and certainly one of the most enjoyable, because this is the guy that cares.
I was actually born in Silver Spring, Maryland, many years ago, but moved to Camden County when I was 7, and I've lived in the county since then, so most of my life. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to Princeton, go to college there for chemical engineering. When I graduated there, I was looking for a job. My mom encouraged me to get the very first job I could get, because she and I were the only breadwinners in the family at the time. First job I got was an opening at the Camden County MUA in their engineering department. It wasn't exactly what I had been thinking about, but as soon as I got there, I really fell in love with the mission of the place, which was to bring Camden County into compliance with the Clean Water Act and to clean up the interior streams of Camden County and the Delaware River. I'd only intended to stay for about a year and then look around and see what else I could find, but I ended up staying for almost 35 years. I feel that everybody has to make a living, but if you can make a living and make a difference, that is really a blessing. And I saw very early on that working with the Camden County MUA would give me that opportunity because of its mission. At the time when I started there were 52 wastewater treatment plants all interspersed around Camden County, most of them not meeting the new water quality requirements, discharging inadequately treated sewage into the Cooper and the Big Timber Creek, and also other streams of Camden County and also into the Delaware. The flow of the river was about 40 million gallons a day, of which about 15 was from these wastewater treatment plants and, I guess, inadequately treated sewage. And the bacteria levels were 10 times higher than would trigger a closing of the Jersey shores.
I grew up in the Kramer Hill section of Camden, which is right off the banks of the Delaware River. As a child, we really had no access to the water for recreation use. We would make our own access. A lot of times our parents didn't want us back there because of the conditions of the water and the land leading to the river.
People didn't want to go to the river. They wanted it out of sight and out of mind. It was too dirty for anybody to really love and to appreciate.
Back in the 80s, you didn't even want to stand around this river. It used to stink. Now, look, no green algae buildup nowhere around here real bad. Smells good. You didn't know what you was gonna find in that water. Now, you could be more at ease.
So the plan was to eliminate all those wastewater treatment plants and send all the flow to the largest plant in the county, which was in Camden City, and then upgrade that plant so that it could accommodate all the flow from all 37 towns, and then expand it so that it treated it at a higher quality. We ended up completing the project in the early 1990s. The bacteria levels in the stream were improved by 95% within 1 year. It was incredible how fast nature popped back up once you let it up, once you stop pushing it down. The fact that Camden City is such an economic distress community, and how the adverse impact that our wastewater treatment plant was having on the residential neighborhood, because although it was doing a good job in cleaning up the water, it had no odor control, and so the odors from the treatment process were really overpowering, and the plant was only 100 yards away from a residential neighborhood. So on the one hand, I was really proud of the fact that we were helping to clean up the river, but I was very distressed about the lack of social justice. And so I was able to convince our board that it wasn't right for us to clean the water, but yet leave the residents of the waterfront south neighborhood of Camden with all the burden of that treatment process. It was bad enough that all the sewage and all the trash from all of Camden County would go to this one neighborhood. At a minimum, we should do whatever we could to minimize the impact. Doing the planning and design and funding, we were able to put odor control in the treatment plant and render it odor-free within 2 or 3 years. And the idea there is that the water utility should not only be a permitted entity, but should be an environmental champion and seek to do everything it can to optimize water quality.
Andy spoke for the environmental injustices he saw in this waterfront south community and throughout Camden. And Andy was a constant reminder that beautiful watersheds are also people sheds, and that everybody deserves safe water to drink, clean air to breathe, healthy land to prosper.
I was in charge of ensuring that Andy Kricun, as CCMUA Executive Director, met every permit obligation necessary. Very quickly I realized his intention was to go far beyond that. So my role as a regulator always had me fighting with permittees to reach what I assumed was their ceiling, which was their permit limit for whatever discharge, whether it be air or water. Andy taught me that should be the basement. You should look to exceed that tremendously, especially if you're in an underserved community.
And so with the Clean Water Act, with the work that Andy Kricun did at the MUA, with his super compliance idea, we're now able to love and to touch and to get back on the river.
And because of this, Camden County and its Discover the Delaware partners are working to create a 13-mile water trail, an 8-mile greenway, which will reconnect Camden residents back to the water and provide a regional destination for the Mid-Atlantic.
You can accomplish a lot more if you have an intentionality toward maximizing the good that you do. But if you look at every single project that you're doing, every single thing that you can do from the lens of how can it create the most public good, the most environmental good, then new ideas come all the time. And so the MUA was able to construct several riverfront parks, the Gateway Park, the Kramer Hill Nature Preserve, the Phoenix Park, which soaked up stormwater, also eliminated contaminated soil that was running off into the river, so it had a water quality benefit. Most importantly, got people, gave them access to the river that they hadn't had before. One would think, what does a wastewater utility have to do with park management? Well, because in a combined sewer system, soaking up stormwater has a water nexus, you can then make a positive difference for the community. And then you can provide green jobs to opportunity youth, because again, you're still within your lane, but you've widened it because you're intentionally looking for opportunities to do as much good as possible. A long-term strategy of a water utility that wishes to be an environmental champion is to create the environmentalists of the future. And so I believe very strongly that getting people to the river, on the river, and ultimately in the river will make a difference for advocacy for water quality for the Delaware River.
As a result of the Clean Water Act, the efforts of people like Andy Kricun and others, not only here but around the country, to clean up waterways has allowed all of us to look at our waterways and experience our waterways in ways that we couldn't do before. We don't really love something until we know about it and understand it, especially places that, again, their parents or their grandparents really couldn't love and experience because it just wasn't clean enough. It wasn't safe to do so.
For far too long, our inner city youth have not been exposed to what I said earlier, this jewel that we have here, and the abilities to enjoy a river like the Delaware River and all that it has to offer was never accessible to us. Now working with the county and Maggie McCann-Johns and others to really open access, create educational activities. But I kayaked several times and canoed the back channels to Petty's Island. It's just a magnificent body of water that we need to make sure that our children in inner cities could really expose, and not only expose them, educate them so they can protect it.
So in the Rivergrass program, what we do is we take citizens of Camden and groups of different people from outside of Camden on a tour of the Cooper River, and we teach them the ecology and the history about Camden and the Cooper River.
The community's never been on the Cooper River, and just seeing their perspective and seeing their faces when they see different birds coming up or fish, it's just an amazing experience.
A lot of the people from Camden actually don't know about the river and the history about it. So when you do teach them about it and when you do take them on the river, you can see just they light up. You can see the difference.
They'll see a better side and they'll realize, okay, we can save the water, but how can we do it? And it's just all questions that lead up to how can we protect the water after you get onto the water.
Water is a great unifier, and Andy used water as a unifier to bring people together to fight for it. This part of the Delaware, particularly these waterways of Camden, are at a tipping point to reconnect the communities to them like they were for hundreds and thousands of years, where people depended on them for their livelihoods, to play, to recreate. Because of the clean water that Andy Kricun has given us, we can now reconnect the communities to these vital natural assets.
We didn't have access to this before. This is made for us. Let's take advantage of it. Let's enjoy it. Compared to the way this used to be, somebody did put in the work to make it like this. Who started it, don't know. But let's try to keep it going. This is nice riverfront. Thank you. Because whatever he did, he made the water better.
I was really fortunate to come to this utility right out of college, and because it ended up giving me an opportunity to work on two things that really mattered to me tremendously, making a difference environmentally and working for social justice. I think that one of the great challenges of the 21st century and hereafter is going to be saving the planet. So anyone who has the opportunity to work on improving the environment and protecting the public health and the environment is making a very positive difference. So the time is now for people to get involved in environmentalism. We're seeing that in our country, the issues of equity are rising to the fore as never before, and I'm hoping that this is a tipping point and a turning point. And so working in a city like Camden, where the long-standing inequities and injustice are so manifest, there was an opportunity to try to make a positive difference. I feel that young people today and people that are coming into this profession have a chance like never before, but also a challenge to make a positive difference, both for the environment and also to make sure that our society is a more just one. The most important thing is to never give up, because it may not seem as though you're making a difference, but I believe that the good that we do goes far beyond what you may ever see, and it's important to stick with it and to always strive to do the best that you can to make the world a better place.